Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. My name is MiAh the King, and I had a date last night. It was just perfect. Tomorrow, I'll try a fig. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called, oh boy, Naheulbeuk's Dungeon Master. Wow, I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce that, and I hope I did it right. Anyway, it was developed by Artifact Studio and published by Dear Villagers, released not in early access, and is selling for 25 American dollars. So, in this game, you basically live in a world of dungeons, dungeon masters, adventurers, and all the things you'd normally expect, though here in this game, it's all kind of handled like unions and organizations. They have magazines published on dungeons and whatnot, like it's a quirky take on the Dungeon Master world kind of thing. It's interesting enough. Anyway, you help run this new dungeon that has seen better days due to an incompetent wizard, and now you need to make it the best and scariest dungeon in all the realms. That's pretty much the gist of the story. Now, as always, we're going to go into the good and the bad, followed by my final thoughts. Alright? Up first is the positives, like we do. And the first positive that I want to talk about is the art style and the graphics. Now, don't get me wrong, we're not looking at anything as good as Horizon Zero Dawn or anything. But the art style here has a lot of good contrast, attention to detail, lighting, and a very wonderful artistic design that gives the game some charm. It's not the best quality in terms of all graphics ever, but it serves its purpose here almost perfectly. I'd like it to be a little bit less fuzzy and a little bit more sharp, but in terms of contrasting colors and matching them together, it all seems to work really well, at least in my opinion. Next up, I'd like to talk about the sound effects, music, and voice acting. Now, the voice acting is a bit corny, and it's definitely not the best, but at least it's here, and at least they're trying, I think. The sound effects aren't awkward or annoying, they sound appropriate, and they show up whenever you would expect them. It's not like anything's missing, and the music is perfectly themed evil villain music. I mean, listen to this. Doesn't that just scream evil villain cartoony music? I like it. Next up for the positives is the gameplay. Now, I was a bit worried that this game would either be badly put together or overly needlessly complicated, but to my pleasant surprise, it was not. The gameplay components are about what you'd expect and what you want them to be, especially if you're used to playing dungeon creation games similar to this one. For instance, if you ever played Evil Genius or Dungeon Keeper, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. The difference between those games and this game is that you're not digging out sections of a mountain or cave system to build your dungeon. No, you already have a pre-excavated tower and you just need to use your creativity to put rooms where you think they would fit the best. I do not excel at this and would have preferred my own excavation, but hey, I made it work. Like those other games I mentioned, this one is pretty self-explanatory. You need a kitchen, a dining room, training room, barracks, entertainment room, guard room, and I could definitely keep going. Each one does what you'd expect it to do. Your dungeon can be invaded, and you can also invade other dungeons. You can build a massive treasury, and you can hire a dwarf banker to manage it. You can do all kinds of crazy, wacky things in your dungeon, and after playing it for almost 2 hours, I still haven't discovered or unlocked everything, and yet everything I unlocked and discovered and played with made sense, worked, and was fun to mess around with. The gist of this game is basically to expand your tower, conquer other dungeons, and don't die. That's pretty much it. And the gameplay is seamless, it makes sense, and it's easy to navigate, plus it feels good to play, like everything just makes sense, you know what I mean? Like when you play it, it feels good. And that's what you want more than anything. So the controls work as well. I probably should have mentioned that. The controls here, they work about as you'd expect. You know, you'd use this to rotate the camera, this to move the screen, this is a shortcut. So, you know, that's good that those work and they're appropriate and they're comfortable where you'd expect it to be for a PC gamer. Next up for the positives is the user interface and the tutorial. The user interface is easy enough to navigate and understand, with tooltips coming as needed along with other information. It's all pretty self-explanatory, which is good for a UI, and the tutorial is well done too. It's part of the story, it teaches you the game while progressing its limited story, all interesting and easy to understand. The biggest problem I see with the tutorial is that it seems like anytime you want to play the campaign, you have to do the tutorial. Now, I really hope for a future update that might make it so the tutorial part can be optional, but despite that, the tutorial is teaching me everything I need to know, as I need to know it in a brief, simple, yet engaging way. I love tutorials like this. Now again, I haven't played the game for longer than an hour and a half, and I haven't even technically gotten completely all the way through the tutorial, and it could be that the campaign is just a code word for tutorial, and there actually isn't really much of a story here. I don't know. I'm sure I'll find out as I play it more later, but, you know, just keep that in mind as you're going in. It looks like the campaign might just be tutorial. I hope not, and we'll see, but for now at this point, that's what I gotta say. The next positive that I want to talk about is the price tag. When you consider how long this game will take you to complete, even if it does have an end. And the multiple replayability options due to a sandbox mode, the voice acting, the gameplay, and pretty much everything else this game offers, a $25 price tag is so damn appropriate that I can't sing its praises enough. The price is awesome. And last but not least for the positives is the stability. The game didn't give me any bugs or glitches, not that I could find at least. Now that could be due to my lack of playtime or my lack of understanding. For instance, some of my minions just aren't eating. I have dwarf guards, artisans, and bankers, and despite having no dwarf-specific kitchen utilities, and not because I can't build them, but because they just aren't there, I did build a dwarf eating table in the lunchroom. Yet they still aren't eating, and they just keep dying. I have no idea if this is a bug or a glitch, or if I'm just missing something, but yeah. Despite that, I didn't notice anything else wrong with the stability of this game. It didn't crash, didn't drop frames, no one clipped through anything. For the most part, it seems to be working. Alright, so that's all I got to say positively about the game, and now we gotta go into the negatives. But before that, did you know that my channel only gets views if it already has views? It's a really frustrating paradox on YouTube. So if you are finding this video informative or entertaining, please consider helping my channel grow by liking, subscribing, and most importantly, sharing this content all over the interweb. Thank you. Now then, on to the negatives. And to be completely honest, I don't have a lot to say here. Like my last review, I'm just going to kind of be nitpicking at things that annoyed me since I can't really think of anything super negative to say about this game. It did almost everything pretty decently enough to give this game a pretty solid rating overall. I don't know. First up, I don't really like how in the main campaign you can't rearrange the innards of your tower. You know, there's random walls and corridors and you're just supposed to build rooms awkwardly around them. You know, that's a bit annoying. Next, the voice acting is kind of cringy at times. It also happens a lot, and the quote-unquote comedy is a big miss for me. I never really smiled or laughed at any of their jokes, puns, or other little quips, which probably what made it cringy to me. You know what, actually I take that back. They did make me smirk once when they literally had a whole explanation about dwarves, basically saying they suck and are annoying, instead of telling me what their purpose was or how to use them. I thought that was kind of funny. Completely ignoring the tutorial, completely ignoring the purpose dwarves are supposed to have, and instead just telling me that they're awful. That's a little hilarious. I don't like how the main source of income for your dungeon is through a tavern. I mean, I don't understand that thought process. It just doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, I'm ruling an evil wizard tower / dungeon. It's supposed to be scary and intimidating. Yet I need to build this beautiful, majestic tavern to draw in regular people to pay for booze to fund my dungeon. It doesn't make sense, it's out of place, it's awkward and hard to manage, and overall, I wish there was just a completely different way to make money. I guess that's it. I can't really think of anything else negatively to talk about. I mean, is the game perfect? No. It's a bit slow, but a lot of these Dungeon Keeper style games are always a bit slow. It has its low moments and it has its high moments. As a dungeon simulator game, it's pretty much got a lot of the stuff you'd want covered. It's interesting at the least, it's fun, it's well put together, it works, and despite its comedy not working for me, the game still has a lot of charm in its gameplay, its characters, its ideas, and its overall satisfaction for dungeon simulations. So would I recommend it? Well, if you like dungeon simulators, then yes, definitely. Like if you liked Evil Genius or Dungeon Keeper, then yes, definitely. It's not the best game I've ever played. You know, it's got its issues. It's kind of hard to explain some of them, but it's definitely fun, engaging, interesting, and worth its asking price. So yeah, I recommend everyone who sees this video to at least go check it out if you're even a little bit interested. Alright everybody? Alright, so that's all the time I got for this video, everyone. Thanks so much to everybody who stayed and watched till the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.